This is the Between Two Firms podcast, episode 23.
Wait a minute. Let's reframe this just 1 second.
These are good problems to have.
And what we can do with money to help our family over generations.
Been working towards my entire career when I decided, you know what, I think I need to do my own thing.
And I'm like, awesome.
How's it going, everybody? My name is Nick Kobos, host of the Between Two Firms podcast, and I'm joined, as always, by our showrunner supreme, Matt Nomchik. Matt, how's it going, dude?
I'm doing excellent. Thank you for having me, as always.
Well, you sound elated to be here. I love it. We just wrapped up doing our interview with Randy Crabtree. I had a great time. I thought it was a great episode. So stick around. I think you guys will enjoy hearing his story. I don't know.
It was fascinating to me, and he's an extremely contagiously positive person. So, it was great.
Much like yourself, Matt. Much like yourself.
Yeah, some have said, and but I think people get a lot of value from it. He does do a lot of speaking, so he was probably well versed in giving the story. But I found it interesting. First time I heard it, found it very interesting. But to give a little firm update.
Yep.
Before we get into the episode, we have unfortunately lost a very integral member of our team in Marissa.
Oh, I thought you were about to quit, man. I was like, oh my God, not on air, dude. Not on air. No, we did. We did live. Doing it live, baby. No, it's true. It's true. Our teammate Marissa, who mentioned on the podcast before, and who has done some work on the podcast.
Never officially appeared, but
never officially appeared, but was mentioned. Has stepped away from the firm to go focus on her growing family. So that's been a bummer for us. Change is always a bummer, but we're happy for her.
Yeah,
and,
much more important work. We will miss her very much.
I don't know. Don't undersell accounting, dude. So we're gonna miss Marissa. But the exciting news, because that's the sad news. The exciting news is that we've hired a new teammate, Julia.
Yes.
We were talking before we started recording that when we brought on Jovi, for folks who've been listening for a while, we had cool intro music in the
Living on a Prayer. Yes. And I was saying how the joke basically wrote itself with Julia. There will be a bit more effort to.
I'm sure there's a song somewhere. that well,
nothing top of mind, but yeah, we're excited. We're excited for
just the important stuff. Yeah,
another full-time member to the team. We will soon to be 5 full-time members.
Had to count there for a second. Yeah, 5. We'll have 5, and I'm very excited because Julia is going to be joining us on the tax side of the house, and so she's a seasoned senior tax accountant. Who will be helping us, helping me with some entity returns, and we'll drastically improve throughput on the tax side of the house, and help me reduce the amount of time I'm spending on tax returns. That sounds bad when I say it that way. Reduce the amount of time I'm spending on tax prep, and being able to focus more on review.
Yep.
And with that freed up time, I'll be able to kind of devote that to firm-wide and growing the firm.
Yes.
At least in theory.
Which is a great
Yeah. No, go ahead.
Is a great segue back to the guest on the podcast today.
Yeah.
Who, you'll hear very in-depth. He said that you go way deeper. But that's kind of the role that he's in right now is kind of the firm-wide face of the firm. And I really enjoyed the episode. Anything else you want to add before we let you guys get into it?
No, Matt did a good job of cutting me off before I go too long in the intro, which I tend to do. I think let's jump to the interview. and we'll see you guys here in a little bit.
Talk to you
during the
guys
outro.
at the end.
All right. Randy, how's it going? How are you today?
I'm doing great, Nick. You?
I'm doing well, and I'm really looking forward to our conversation today. For the audience, our guest today, Randy Crabtree, is coming to us from Tri-Merit Specialty Tax Professionals based out of Schaumburg, Illinois. Schaumburg, am I saying that right?
You got it.
Okay. Schaumburg, Illinois, and also hosts the Unique CPA podcast, which we'll link in the show notes below. I've got a bunch of stuff that like we were talking about before we started recording. I got a bunch of stuff that I want to ask you about. I want to make sure we get to.
Sure.
But before we dive into some of my questions, would you mind sharing with us, Randy, how did you get into accounting originally, and then what got you from getting into accounting into launching a firm or taking over a firm?
Okay, so how many hours do we have? Well, let's just jump into it. So, and if I go too long, you tell me, Nick.
No, it's okay. I want the story. I want the story.
You got it. So accounting is my third career. The first two were very short, but I graduated with a computer science degree back in the dark ages, actually in 1985, actually, and was out computer programming for a year and just decided that is not what I wanted to do. And it was partly the place I was at. It was partly the atmosphere that I was in. It was the honestly dullness of what we were doing. It was just kind of boring, and it was in multiple things. But I decided, you know what? I got to try something different. And I had a bunch of friends that were out doing sales, and my friends in sales, they were making the big bucks. I mean, I was 22 grand a year. They were 30 grand a year. So that was like, you were killing it at that. So I thought, I'll chase the money. Which was probably a bad decision, because what I found out is I am not passionate about sales. I wasn't very good at it. It taught me a lot. That role that I did for a year, it taught me a lot that I didn't even know until later in my career that I really learned a lot in that position.
What were you selling, if you don't mind me asking?
Food. It was a food broker. So we were like the outside sales force in the region for manufacturers.
Got it.
And we had some really good products that we represented. In fact, it was my uncle's company that.
Oh, cool.
Over the years, he probably employed 7 family members at one point or another. He was probably really excited when he heard I was going to change careers again, because he never said it. He never let on that he was, but I wouldn't be surprised. But I had this epiphany then to get to accounting now. I had an epiphany one day. I live in the Chicago area. I'm in the Chicago suburbs, and I was driving. Anybody that knows Chicago, they'll know North Avenue. But I was driving down North Avenue, heading home from a sales call, and just had this epiphany, and it like hit me like immediate. It was just like all of a sudden I'm in sales, and I had this idea that I need to change careers, and so I got off North Avenue. This was back in the, late 80s. So we didn't have cell phones. I found a phone booth. I called my wife at work, and I said, Kath, I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to go back to school full time. I want to be a CPA. And I'm sure I look back and think about her reaction. She's just probably on the other end of this phone like, what are you talking about? What are you doing? We had just got married, honestly. I think it was less than a year. Yeah, it was definitely less than a year before that, or about a year, let's say. And then I actually went on further because I had this thing that just planned out in my head. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to work for somebody else for 4 years, probably 2 different firms, and then I'm going to start my own firm. That was it. It was all laid out. It just hit me. And I only had 1 accounting class undergrad, and I loved it. But I think I had a bad advisor, because they put me in this accounting track that had a dead end. It was that class and you're done. But I was computer science. So there was like, they didn't think I needed it.
Sure.
But you don't know what you want when you're 18
Right.
years old. And I loved the accounting class, and that always stuck in my head. To go a little bit further, and I told you this could be a long story. To go a little bit further, that year we had just got married the prior year, and I did our tax return. My dad had always done my tax return in the past, and I did our tax return. And I remember thinking, this is kind of fun. I kind of like taxes.
Just sadistic, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that was in the back of my mind. I always have been an entrepreneur. I started my first business at 16, and then had the bug ever since I graduated college. It's like my mind was like, what can I do? What business can I start? And then that all came together on North Avenue this one day in 1987, I think, where I had this epiphany. So got home, talked it over with my wife after she probably still thought I was crazy. But talked it over with her, and we came up with a plan that I was going to enroll in. This was March, I think. So I was going to enroll in summer school. And so to start my classes, ended up doing summer, fall, and spring semesters, quit my job, went full time, got enough hours to take the CPA exam, took it twice, ended up passing 2 parts the first time, 2 parts the second time. And that started my CPA journey.
Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. And then from once you got your CPA license, did your plan about working in a firm for 4 years, did that end up holding true?
Pretty much. What happened was I went to a local firm, and I had this planned out. I'm not a planner, honestly, really. I mean, I react, as you can see on this epiphany. I just make quick decisions and go for it, and they'll see what happens. But I did have this plan that I did want to work for somebody, a small firm, because I wanted to learn everything, the ins and outs of the whole. I didn't want to get pigeonholed into one thing at a large firm. And so I went with a small local firm. There was maybe 4, 5, 6 of us in the firm. Great people. The 2 partners at that firm, I love, and actually to this day, I still keep in touch with them. Honestly, I stopped at their office yesterday and said hi.
That's awesome.
Because I was near their neighborhood, and I haven't seen them in 2 years probably. So it was cool to stop in and say hi. But so I went to them for 2 years. And then, my mind was telling me, you know what, you got to go somewhere else. You got to get some more experience. You got to see how someone else does it. And this is an interesting story. So I did that. And I did that probably around October of, what is this, 88, 89, one of these years. And went there, enjoyed the people I was working with, did not enjoy the managing partner at all.
Okay.
And I am not somebody that puts up with micromanaging or anything like that. So if you've ever seen anything about my passions, I love, positive culture and people first culture and that kind of stuff. So I went to this other firm, went through about 2 months. I was sitting in January. It was tax season now. We were actually out doing an audit of a car dealership, the managing partner and myself. I'm getting on a tangent, but we're going here.
No, it's okay.
We were out at the audit of a car dealership, which was at their office, not at the dealership itself, but they had a headquarters downtown Chicago.
Got it.
Managing partner and I walked out of that. We're heading back to the office, which is 5 blocks away. I'm going to walk because I am been sitting at this desk all day long I just need a few minutes outside. Managing partner, I don't think I've ever told this story on a podcast before. The managing partner looked at me as I started walking because he's getting in a cab and he goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "I'm going to walk back. I just need some air." And he had this stern look. "Get in the effing cab now." And I literally was like in shock. What am I? What am I to this guy? I'm a billable hour. I'm an asset. I'm not a person. That's the way I felt right then and there.
Yeah.
So I went back to the office in a daze. I went home that night. Again, I react. I come up with quick decisions and go with it. Came up with a plan, went into the office the next morning, organized my desk, put notes on all my files, walked out at lunch, got home, called one of the other partners and said, sorry, I quit. I'm not coming back. I can't deal with, I won't say the name, but the managing partner of the firm. He seemed to understand. But just to take this full circle, and then I'll get to your going out on my own story.
Yeah.
I called the firm I used to work for that I had left.
Yeah.
And I told them, hey, just letting you know, it didn't work out at the other place. I left. I had no job. I had no plans. It was tax season. I'm going to miss a whole season of learning.
Yeah.
First thing they said is, you want to come back here?
Yeah.
And I said, I'll be there tomorrow. And that right there just taught me and I thought this before, but to treat a person as a person,
Yeah.
I personally was important to them. They wanted me. They didn't want my, ability to, input data or anything, but they were just the whole person thing. And so that had a major impact on me. And then just to finish that story, I ended up staying there about another year and a half. And then I had an opportunity to start my own firm. Very lucky. I run into opportunities a lot. Everybody does. And some people act on it. You can probably see my personality. I'm one that'll act on it, and you don't have to. But there was an opportunity to start a firm with a client base. And so I did. And that was about maybe, it was less than 4 years, 3.5+ years after I originally decided to become a CPA, or after I finished enough classes. And so that's what I did. So I started my generalist firm full-time back in 1991, and ran that till 2006 when I sold that. And then Trimerit, which you mentioned earlier, I started that in 2007.
Interesting. Okay. And so when you say that you had an opportunity to start a firm with an existing book or client base, how did that manifest? Was that somebody you knew selling, or how did that work?
Yeah, it was an interesting story. My wife's uncle is a CPA. Unfortunately, he's passed now, but he was a CPA. He already had an established firm. He ended up buying another firm and needed help with that. He said, hey, you want to come in as a partner on this new firm that I'm going to buy? Long story short, that deal fell apart. I started when did I start? June, July. That deal fell apart beginning of November. It was just, I'm not going to go into the issues, but the person he bought from, there was just a lot of issues there. Sure. So I pretty much put in my resignation when I saw this happening. My wife's uncle, was, you should do this. You should resign. Didn't really say what was next, but I knew what he meant for me to do next. And I got in my car. I did have a cell phone at that point in time. It was a bag phone. Resigned, got in my car, drove home. By the time the 20-minute drive from the office to home, I had about $60,000 in annual revenue had booked that was going to come with me, which was a lot back then. So, so that's how that firm started. So I had a very good head start with a client base that I knew already, and it just turned into, Crabtree and Associates rather than the firm it was before.
Got it. Okay. That's super cool. And that, when you made that jump, you said it was a generalist firm.
Yeah.
So it was was it books and tax, or just tax? Was there any audit work?
No audit work. I think I might have done a little review work, but no audits. It was mainly tax. Ended up, as I grew it, it became very tax heavy. Okay. But we did, I identify as a tax person. Okay. I don't get annoyed but I get like when someone says, "Oh, you're an accountant," I go, "Well, yeah, but tax is my thing."
Yeah.
Because people think accounting, you're doing the books, and I'm
It's
not.
all right.
That's not really my thing. But we were doing accounting. I had, as we grew, I had people came in that did most of that part of the work. We actually added payroll at one point. We added financial services at one point. Grew that from 91 until 2006.
Okay, so about 15 years you were running the firm.
Yep.
And was it just you that whole time, or did you bring on other partners throughout?
So we ended up, I merged in a partner.
Okay.
Probably the last 2 years of that. Actually, I think it was the last 3 years of that firm. I had brought in somebody who had a book of business that was looking to team up with somebody, and that was good. He was a very good technician, and it was a nice addition to the skills that I brought to that. But then what happened in 2006, I decided it was time for me to get out. And we merged the entire firm and then with another local firm is what we did. And he went with, and I was bought out.
Gotcha. Okay. And so when you started the firm, with about a $60,000 book of business. And granted, this is 90s dollars. Like that. Okay. Got it. And by the time, you don't have to give me like the exact revenue, but just like ballpark of size, like by the time that you left the firm or you sold the firm, what was it? What did it look like?
We're about 600,000.
Okay.
Which is, when I look back, I go, you know what? We should have been more than that. But I learned a lot after that because 600,000, I mean, if I think of it today, I'm like, okay, we had, how many people? I mean, maybe it was 3 full-time people, 4 when the partner came in.
Okay.
And 2 part-time. That seems like not a lot of revenue for that amount of people in my mind. Maybe it is. If I equated that revenue to today, would it be $1 million?
Sure.
It might be. I don't know.
Sure.
It ended up being about 600,000 when I ended up leaving.
Gotcha. And what was it when you left? Was it still a generalist firm? At any point during running it, did you start to move in like one specific direction, or?
If anything, if I said there was a niche, it wasn't on the accounting side. It was because we helped everybody, which means we probably did not help anybody that well. Because how can you be an expert at hair salons and construction and doctor's office and lawyer's office and Burger Kings and all this at the same time?
Sure.
But as I grew it, that's what happened. We just, which is normal.
Right.
Everybody does it. You grow, you start a business, you bring in anybody that's going to pay you revenue.
Right.
And that's what we did. Looking back now, if I were to do things different, and I wouldn't change anything I've done.
Sure.
But if I were to give advice to anybody else, I would still take revenue. That's the first thing. But as you get to a spot where you're feeling comfortable, really dial into a niche. Find something that you're passionate about, a client base you love, a service you love. Because when you do that, and that's what I found with Tri-Merit when I started Tri-Merit in 2007, I found that niche that I just energized me. So I wouldn't change what I did. Looking back, I would tell other people to do it different than I did when I built my firm.
Sure. I think that's fair. So I want to get into Tri-Merit then. And so you sold your practice. What made you, was there something that triggered like that decision that made you wake up one day and say, I'm deciding to sell, or what? Yeah. Walk me through kind of the thought process there.
There's really 2 aspects to it. The first is, I told you before, I've been an entrepreneur. I guess I still would be considered an entrepreneur. It's weird to say because it's just what I do, I guess. But in 2003, so 2006, January 1st is when I sold the firm.
Okay.
In 2003, about August of 2003, I started a real estate development firm. And again, opportunity showed itself. I didn't ignore it. I reacted and went for it. Not ever doing real estate development before in my life. And just saw this opportunity and thought, okay, we should see about if we could do this. There was a TIF district in our area where my office was. One of my clients was in construction and did a little real estate development. I talked to him. I said, you want to, go for this opportunity? And we did, and we got awarded this project. I think we got about $7 million in TIF money. It was about a $45 million project that we put together. It was a mixed use project, so retail first floor, condos above. And we built this, and we were in the middle of it, but we just did a really nice job. We built something that people loved. It was in Chicago here. It was on the Metro line, the train line.
Gotcha.
And so every city, and I'm exaggerating, but many cities along the train line saw what we were doing and said, hey, we want that here too. And so we ended up in a 3-year period, went from zero to we had $220 million of projects under development.
Wow.
And so the two ways of looking at this are why I sold. One, I couldn't continue to help both,
Sure.
and be fair to both.
Sure.
The real estate development was this new shiny thing. And it was fun. Accounting's fun. So don't take it. I don't mean that. At the time, for me, I didn't know how to make accounting fun. And so that was the other aspect. I loved it. I loved my clients, but I built the firm way too tax heavy. And so I was crazy during tax season, like insane crazy.
Yeah.
And so, but I didn't look at that like it was affecting me. And looking back, I was burnt out, but I didn't look at it as affecting me. I was looking at it was my long hours were affecting my kids. And that's what made me just make that decision. Right. There's a lot more risk in the real estate development if I'm not there. There's also a lot more reward sitting there if it does go well.
Sure.
But the hours are going to be reduced if I go to development rather than accounting, and I can't be fair to accounting by doing both. And so that was kind of the thought process I went through. And so I ended up January 1st. This is when I sold it. The interesting thing is my partner and I in real estate development in May of 2006 decided we couldn't get along anymore. And so he ended up buying me out in May of 2006. And so I all of a sudden went from 2 jobs to 0 jobs in about a 5-month period.
Interesting. And probably fortuitous timing. I mean, I don't know, but
yes. Yes, it was. It unfortunate. Fortunate for me, I got out when I did. Unfortunate for me, a lot of it was back end loaded because we were letting the projects run its course. Very unfortunate for him is it was not a good final outcome for him because of 2008.
Sure.
And so, for me, it ended up not crushing me. It did hurt me for quite a while. But as an entrepreneur, you take risks.
Yeah,
and,
that's the game.
And then Trimerit, was about a year after that is when Trimerit was born. And so I took some time off. I realized that I needed to work. And so, we started Trimerit with R&D tax credits, saw that opportunity. And in May of 2007, that's when Trimerit was born.
And did you have a lot of experience doing R&D tax credits at your previous firm, or what made you say, okay, we're gonna be a specialty firm and we're only doing tax credits?
Insanity mainly is what. I didn't know R&D tax credits at all. Honestly, if somebody said, "Have you heard about R&D tax credits before?" Let's say in 2006, I would have said, "I think so," but I couldn't have told you anything.
Sure.
I ended up deciding that after the summer of 2006 that I needed to generate income again. And so I decided, you know what, this last year has been crazy. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 16. I had obviously went to college, worked for someone else for a handful of years. I'm like, I'm going to go work for someone else. And I guess probably based on the stories we told so far, that doesn't work for me very well. But I talked to a recruiter somewhere else. It's just 2 different R&D tax credit companies for some reason, reached out to me. And I got intrigued. I'm like, this is really interesting. I wonder what's going on here. I got to find out more. And both of these companies offered me jobs. And the first one that offered no, I think it was the same time. But one I said no to, the other I said yes, because I saw the opportunity they both had. They both had huge opportunities. One is a little more established than the other, but I like that startup phase. I like the one that's going to try something new. So I went there, and the people overall were really good. It's just that they were managed by like 8 people. I mean, every partner at this firm thought they were managing partner.
Yeah.
And I just had ideas, and I tried to get my ideas out there. Like, hey, I think we can do this. I think you should use me this way. I know accounting. I know these firms. I know, get me out in front of people. Do that. It was just. I was so passionate about what was going on. All these wheels were spinning. I'm like, I think there's other things we can do. We can make this better. We can, and it was just kind of going on deaf ears.
Yeah.
And so then I saw the internal, and again, I don't want to. They were great people. I had no problem. They created my R&D career, but I just didn't. I didn't see. I was afraid of implosion with this place, honestly. And that's ended up what happening. But after a few months, I decided I'm just going to leave. I'm going to start my own.
And just do it yourself.
Yep. Yeah. And I told them a couple times I was leaving. I didn't tell them what I was doing, but I was never going to touch their clients. I was never going to take any of their resources or anything, which we never did. But they begged me to stay. And so a couple times I stayed a little bit longer. But then I finally just said, this is it. I'm leaving. And so that was May 7th. I think it was, May of 2007. And that was the day. Ended up someone else who was there at this other company with me. It was an engineer, and R&D tax credits have a big engineering base to it. He had pretty much had the same idea as me. And so I told him, you know what? I'm going to leave. I did have some cushion from real estate development, even though it wasn't the biggest cushion that I thought. I'm going to leave. Let's see if this thing's going to work or not. And if it does, if you want to come with, then afterwards you can. And the first day in business, I had already set up a deal with a local CPA firm that I really liked. And they sent me to one of their clients. And that first day, the very first day in business, I walked out of that office with a $20,000 check in my hand. And I thought, you know what? I think this is going to work.
I think it's going to work. I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah.
What starting the R&D or starting your R&D tax credit firm, how is it different? Because now your client base is other firms, right? You weren't selling direct to the end client, or were you?
Nope. We from day one, our philosophy was we're going through the accountant.
Okay. So was that a lot different? Like your lead generation process and the sales process, was that a lot different than what you'd learned running your prior firm?
Definitely. So prior firm, I was terrible at sales, as I was when we were doing the food, because it was all I didn't sell. And I don't know. You don't remember these days, probably. I'm sure you don't.
No.
But there used to be a rule that accounting firms couldn't market. I mean, you weren't allowed to do this. Yeah, it was crazy.
Really?
So yeah,
nuts.
You weren't able to do it. So it was more of a, hey, I just have to sit here and get word of mouth, people coming to me. Now, I think the rule had changed a little before that, so I was still living under the old rule, but you couldn't put ads out. You couldn't do that. There was something in place. And so I had always just been let's wait for them to come to me. With Tri-Merit, it was completely different because we had to go out and generate revenue. But as much as that, and this is something I love doing, we had to educate. Because R&D tax credits it wasn't just me that really didn't know them. No firms really knew them. They went through some big changes in the 2003 timeframe. So we were still early on these changes.
Got it.
And so for us, what it ended up doing is we just ended up going educating. We went out to CPA firms. We'd set up, presentations, just talking about what the credit was, who qualifies, what's the value, how they qualify, this kind of stuff. And so the sales ended up being more education, which again, sales is not my thing. Education, I'll do all day long.
Yeah.
And so that's what we ended up doing. Now, the sales end ended up being once they sent us to their client, we still had to close a deal. But when you're
so the client's paying you, the end client was paying you. Okay.
Yes. Yeah, the firms would send us to their client. We would have a referral agreement with most firms. It was the firm's decision if we did that or not.
Sure.
And then they'd send us to their client. And yes, that's our contract was with their client.
Okay.
So we would have to close that deal. But when you're selling money, it's a pretty easy deal to close.
Right. Because you can just map out, here's your ROI and here's their cost. And right.
When you talk about value billing, it was really easy for us to value bill because here's what you're getting and here's our fee and you can see the ROI immediately.
Right. Okay. Yep. Okay. And so that's interesting. I love the education-based lead generation. Because I'm with you. I think for most accountants, that feels lighter. I've only talked to a handful of folks who really gave off like the sales energy, and I'm with you. Like sales for me has been probably the single biggest like skill deficit that I had to close and start in the firm. And so being able to just kind of sell by helping directly through education, I love that, and all the more reason to niche down because that's only really possible if you're niche down.
Oh, I believe that completely. We, as accountants, our personality is, we don't like sales. It's just a thing. It's a personality thing we have, but we do like education. We do like helping. And so, for sure, for me, when I looked at it that way, it was so much easier.
And so operationally, that was basically just reaching out to other firms in your local area and saying, hey, can we come by and we're just going to give a class or give a brief or
and it ended up we started with Midwest firms because that's where I'm in the Chicago area obviously, and Andy, who started the firm with me, it was in the Detroit area, so between that's where we started going. You want to? Well, you're the leader here, but I was going to go into a story about the growth we went through and how we kind of
please do
change that philosophy. All right, so from day one, accountants were what we wanted to do. As a CPA, as an accountant, my whole thought was, I don't want someone going in and selling tax services to my client. And so, cause I would get pissed. Like, what are they doing? That's me. And so that's why we decided we'll go the path to the accounting firm because one, I know the accounting firm. I know the industry. I know a lot of people in it. And so we were doing that, but it was firm by firm, which is fine. But when we originally started, there was so much opportunity with R&D tax credits. It was insanity and it was a hard sell because people thought it was too good to be real at the time.
Yeah.
And so it was a little bit of a hard sell. And it was also a little bit of a hard sell because accountants were like, ooh, why haven't I told my client about this yet? Am I going to look bad if I bring this to my client?
Yeah, it creates like an ignorance kind of, yeah. I get that. I can see that.
But I always was like, hey, rules just changed. It's an easy thing to say. Plus rules just changed. And every time they change, there's court cases. We don't really know what's happening until all that evolves. So we got past that pretty quick. Our game plan was there's so much opportunity. We don't have to build a big staff. You and I, Andy and I, we can do this by ourselves. That was our first thought.
Sure.
That we abandoned that very fast because there was so much opportunity and we got so much business so quickly. So we brought on another engineer, a friend of Andy's. And then we're like, well, now we have another engineer to feed. We better bring in someone to develop business. So we brought in business development. And then that just kept going back and forth to a point where I don't even know. I think we've maxed out at 75 people at some point. I'm guessing we're high 60s right now. But when that all was happening, it was like, okay, what's a better path than the accounting firm? Well, there isn't one. So what's a better path to get to the accounting firm? So we started looking at CPA associations. And luckily, the firms we started working with were part of associations like Leading Edge Alliance and CPA America and Alenial and AGN, all these different associations that are out there for pretty much larger firms for the most part. And we were lucky. We had a good reputation already in the few years that we'd been in business, and the members would refer us to the associations. And then that's where we really started to explode. When we got in this, you have to do good work because when you're in the association or anywhere, you do one thing wrong,
and everybody's going to talk, right?
Everybody knows about it immediately.
Yeah.
And so you have to make sure all your processes and procedures and standard operating and all that is in place. And you have to hire nice people too, because that reputation. But we did that. And so when we did that, that's really when, the growth was accelerating. And then we're always at the mercy of Congress too. Whenever there's new tax laws, it could be positive, it could be negative, and we've lived through both ends of it. And when it's positive, we crank, and when it's negative, we just hopefully keep the same staff and wait till the positive. Yep.
Right. So. Oh, it's fascinating, and it sounds like you had compounding forces working because it's an affiliate sales model, right? You're selling. You're not selling directly, but you're working through the CPA firms, and one firm can bring you multiple end clients, and then you chunk down or you chunk up from that too, and you're targeting associations. Yep. And so one good association can net you, and so I can see how that creates kind of exponential sales growth.
It definitely did. We grew. We had a nice growth path. For the first 7 years or so, it was constant, nice upward growth. And then all of a sudden we had this skyrocketing growth. Yeah. And then from that skyrocketing growth, it's been a jagged up and down. But that's again, when tax law changes, positively, it's a skyrocket up. When it changes negatively, it heads down.
And when you hit kind of peak growth or your skyrocketing growth period, what broke first? What were your limiting factors at that time?
So I think we just had this perfect storm where we were hiring, where we were training, and then 2000 what time frame? 2016 maybe.
Okay.
R&D really got a significant bump. Tax laws changed, opened it up to a lot more companies again. Rules changed. You could use it to offset payroll taxes for some companies. There was just this, and it became permanent. That was part of the story too at the beginning. We took a risk on when we started this because
there was a phase out.
Yeah, it was. We weren't part of that. We weren't. Now it had been renewed every year, pretty much with a little teeny gap since 1981.
Sure, but you're one regulatory change away from not having a business model, right? Okay.
So, but we saw this coming. The at least everything was pointing to this is about to become permanent. So we took the risk and we started staffing up before that. So we were ready for it. I've never felt. The engineers that are actually doing the work may argue with me, but I never felt like a constraint by the staff we had. I always felt like we had enough staff because especially when you're supporting all these associations, you can't go say, no, I can't help you. Because then that gets around. Oh, Trimerit doesn't have the resources to help you.
Capacity,
So we always were available. So we lucky. Oftentimes I say I'm very lucky when it comes to business. And you look back, I'm not always been lucky, but I always see the upside. And so we got lucky that we were ready and never felt constrained by anything. We were always ready for significant growth. And sometimes maybe that, maybe it was a year that wasn't as profitable because maybe we were overstaffed. But then there's years where it was super profitable because we were ready.
Sure. And for you personally, how, as the head count and your kind of organizational complexity grew, how did your personal kind of duties and responsibilities shift within the org? 'Cause I imagine that's a pretty rapid or relatively rapid evolution.
Yeah, there's a there's a really interesting and long story about this. I'll start short and then we'll see where we go.
Sure.
So when we started Trimerit in 2007, by default, I was managing partner. I'm the CPA.
Sure.
This is accounting. Andy's an engineer. What does he know about accounting? Which is my way that I looked at it from a mindset standpoint, which was the wrong way to look at it. But so for the first 7 years, from 2007 to 2014, I was managing partner. What did that mean? We were, by 14, maybe we were 15 people or something like that. So it was still a decent amount to manage. We had probably 3 people that were business development out of those 14 or 15 people. We had engineers. We had an internal, I think we called him controller at that point in time, but our accountant had somebody that was just in charge of like organizing the conferences and getting stuff shipped. And so we had all these different things. I was trying to, overall manage the business with spending a lot of time on the business development team as well. Because Andy's working with the project management team. I didn't really know anything about business development, so I'm trying to manage that team, and I didn't know what I was doing. Trying to manage the organization. It took me a long time to realize it, but because I've always been in charge, I've always been the person that starts the business, I never thought that, okay, you don't have to do everything. You don't have to be the person in charge. And then it finally hit me in 2014. These are not my skills. Managing growth, I can start a business all day long. You and I can go start a business tomorrow, and I'll do it. I mean, if it looks fun, and that's part of it. It's got to be fun.
Sure.
But it took me forever to realize I'm not good at the processes and procedures and KPIs and goal settings and the standard operating procedures and all that. That is not that doesn't excite me, and it's not my skill, and it's not my passion. And it was a what's the best way to look at this? It was a thought that started in 2014, but I really didn't act on that until 2017. So we're 10 years in now. So I knew that something had to change, but I still fought it for 2.5, 3 years. I fought it because, hey, no, I'm in charge. This is me. I'm the
thought
guy.
of giving up. Yeah.
Right. So finally in 2017, I'll say it like this. I gave in and said, yes, I shouldn't do this anymore. And it's looking back, it was like, that's the stupid way to look at it, because you weren't even enjoying that part of it. But I gave in, and then Andy became managing partner. And that there was we already knew this growth was coming. We knew this because the change that happened. I knew I wasn't prepared to manage us through the growth. It's just not my thing. And so we changed. I didn't know what my role was going to be yet, but I almost immediately saw, okay, he's equipped for this. This is where he should be. This managing partner role is his. He is the process, procedure, KPIs, goal setting, setting up organization from, all these different aspects, that is just not how I think. So my role ended up changing I went out to started like more business development, then realized, what? I should just be supporting our business development team and I didn't want them to feel like I'm taking sales away from them. So it kind of transitioned to that. Gotcha. I was out educating on their behalf, that kind of stuff. And then in about 2020, as we had grown, and we were, 50 people at that time, we had brought in a marketing department, and it just, for them, it made sense that I was more like the figurehead, the face of the company. And so then they just started promoting, I guess, me out there doing things. And that's where my roles evolved ever since that. It's been this out, being the face of the company, more giving goodwill back to the profession, whether it's, educating on R&D or any of the other things I'm and we added different services too. We added cost seg, we added renewable energy, we added, other incentives along the way. But so my role to answer your question, and there's more to this story, but my role evolved from 17 till 20 and still evolving. But, I knew it had to change. To summarize, I fought the change for a while, and really it was something that was needed. And looking back, I'm glad I did it. Waiting till I did, again, I would never go back and change anything I did. Could things have been different? Sure. But I think every timing happens for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. And you were having more fun post.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Which, like you said, I mean, that's super important. One thing that you mentioned becoming kind of the face of the business, and so and kind of building out a marketing department. What did that? That was content. I mean, that's all content kind of creation and okay.
Content, speaking, writing, yeah, all that stuff. Yep.
As you, I don't know if we talked about it before we started recording or after, but you're getting ready to retire from the firm.
Yeah.
Here soon. As you go, how have you guys thought through that transition? If you've been the one historically kind of doing all the content and the being the figurehead, what does that transition look like, and how have you prepared for that?
So I've been saying it for a few years that we need to find who's taking my role when I leave. And I don't think there's somebody in place that's just not there. What ended up saying, because I was doing webinars every month too, and so over the last year or so, I say, you know what, I can't be doing the webinars anymore. I can do some, but I think we need our subject matter experts to be out there, subject matter experts being out there, being the ones being online, doing the webinars, doing the education. Instead of me being the one out, doing in-person CPEs, which I still do some of those. One of our engineers, who's a partner now, ended up being the head of our project management team, and realized that wasn't his role either. And actually, this is a common theme in our company. People lean into their skills, their passions and their skills. And he decided, you know what, this isn't where my passion is. So he went into technical sales, supporting business development, but also very skilled on the technical side. So he's out now doing a lot of these in-person CPEs. We have another person that is very, very well spoken, who's been doing some out speaking stuff. So ended up, when I announced in May that I was going to retire at the end of July, and it wasn't just I just told everybody. We were talking behind the scenes ahead of time, what makes sense. There's two things that have really been, there's been a lot of them, but two that have been really a big part of that, goodwill we give back, or that face. And we started a podcast, as you mentioned earlier, back in 2019.
Okay.
And so the podcast actually is coming with me. And that already did. We transitioned that in January of this year, even before all of this was finalized. So we transitioned the podcast away. So that's something they won't continue to do. I got a feeling that they'll consider doing a tax podcast, which I think they should.
Sure.
And my goal is to kind of still hang around as an advisor a little bit with Trimerit, and we're still talking about that aspect of things. And then another big thing that we've been doing is, this is year 4, a conference we host, Bridging the Gap conference.
Gotcha.
And when I announced in May, the discussion we had was what happens with the conference, and we all decided it makes sense for that to go with me. So those are two big things where I spend a lot of the time, the podcast and the conference, and those are transitioned to me personally. So they're not going to need that person. So I think the face of the company role, I really think, should be a person. I don't think should be multiple. And I have somebody in mind, but that's their decision. Although I've let my thoughts be known already.
Gotcha.
Because some people enjoy that role and some people don't. And so you have to enjoy that role. And so I think that'll be out there. They're doing I think a decent job, a good job of filling the places where I was spending time. And so that's good. But yeah, transition's a big deal. I mean, it's making those changes and making sure that, everybody, I mean, when I first announced, I felt a little a little. I not delayed this because I knew the timing was right, but I've been thinking about it for about a year and a half or so. And it always was this thing. I love everybody at Trimerit. I love the team. And am I abandoning them? Am I going to hurt what's going on there? And I know that they're well equipped to go on without me. And that transition's really been happening since that, 2017 timeframe, anyways, the last 9 years when I transitioned out of the managing partner role. So they're well equipped to keep going without me. So I'm not worried about that.
Sure. No, but I'm sure it's still, anytime there's a major role or an identity shift, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. Oh, but it's exciting too. I mean, and I'm sure you've been at it a while. I'm sure it's exciting. What? So,
yeah.
Well, no, go ahead.
Well, I was going to just say it is exciting. I was going to say early May is when we, Andy, Nick, and myself, CEO, COO, myself, kind of decide this whole game plan. It was like 2 weeks later that we had an all company meeting. That was tough for me because I wanted to tell everybody then. I actually called the marketing team the day before because that's who I work closely with. And I wanted to tell them before everybody else and let them know what's going on. And then the next day, but both those calls, lots of tears on my part and some other people's parts too. But yeah, so changes, there's a lot going on, but boy, when the decision was made that this was the timing, I was also super excited because I'm ready to be full in on this next phase of what I'm doing.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit about this next phase then. So you've got the Brainstorm Group, and is that kind of what's taken over the conference and your podcast, or tell me, what is the Brainstorm Group?
So the Brainstorm Group, I ended up starting about 5 years ago, probably, because I started being asked to do things kind of outside of Trimerit, speaking at firms on mental health awareness or culture, or embracing change and all these things that are not tax related. So it'd be firms or conferences, and I'd get paid speaking events. So I started running that through the Brainstorm Group. I've got a book I've been working on forever that's going to be finalized this year. That will all go through the Brainstorm Group. The podcast, the conference are through there now. But I've also had this idea. I have this passion. I just love this profession. I love everybody. And we are the greatest profession out there. We are so collaborative. We work together. We go to a conference and we see people that we haven't seen in a year or something. And immediately we run up and hug each other. That doesn't happen. I won't name industries, but you go to another industry, you don't see people running around across the conference floor to go hug somebody else. Yeah, exactly. And so it's such an amazing profession. And we're in the midst of a major change. And you could say this any point in time in accounting. Sure. I could say this 20 years ago, but it's never going to be, it's never been more of a moment of change than it is today. And I can say the same thing tomorrow, and I'll be able to say that the same thing a year from now. But the change is incremental. I mean, it's growing fast right now. Yeah. And so my concern is that not everybody's going to embrace the change. And so going forward, my mission, and I'll say this wrong right now because I rewrite it every day, but my mission is to have a positive impact. I want to inspire change in the accounting profession that'll have a positive impact on the people inside the industry and the firms themselves. And again, I said it wrong, but that's the gist of it.
No, sure.
So when I've been thinking about this, I'm like, all right, how do I do that? I know I can go out and talk. I know I can do this, but there's also, inspiring change means let's look at the new things that are coming out in this profession. There's a lot of new technology, obviously, especially with AI. There's a lot of change with PE coming in. There's all these changes. And so I recently, literally this past weekend, came up with the idea of the Brainstorm Group. That's my company, the Brainstorm Group, the Brain Trust. And it's kind of a sub thing within the Brainstorm Group. And the Brain Trust is going to be like an invitation only, a group of companies that I think are going to have a positive impact. Now, some will and some won't, but when I see what they're doing now and I see their passion, I see their people, I'm like, okay, they're on to something. I hope they're successful. And I want to support them. So I want to be out there supporting them however I can, introductions or speaking on their behalf or just going out and, hanging out at conferences or firms with them. And so my goal is to put together this 5 to 7 companies that I think are going to really have the ability to have a positive impact. There's about 5 to 6 right now that I've been talking to. I think 4 or 5 already that we're lined up. We're just finalizing what we're doing. And I'm going to go around with these companies and help them have that positive impact I think they're going to have. And there's 3 things that I came up with this philosophy, and there's a 4th overriding thing. If I'm going to team up with somebody, I mean, fun has to be part of it. So
Sure.
I have to like your team. I have to like you and your team. That's a no-brainer. I just
Sure.
have to. Somebody.
Life's too short to work with people you hate. Yeah.
Right. So I have to really like your product or service. And by that I mean I have to feel that it is going to have a positive impact on the accounting profession. It can change this profession to be the best profession it possibly can be. And then I have this, and I'm trying to figure out how to work this in overall. Although when you and I were talking, I saw I just had 90 shirts delivered that say this on it.
Some cost, yeah.
Yeah. And so this is, I said this on a podcast sometime last year. Somebody asked me a question and I said, it's really simple. All you got to do is be nice and have fun. And so that's the overriding theme. This group has to be nice and have fun in addition to having the positive impact. And so these t-shirts, people are asking for it. It wasn't my idea to originate, but in quotes, it says, be nice and have fun. And underneath it says Randy Crabtree.
I like that.
So that's the overriding theme. So yeah, going forward, that's me. I'm going to be out speaking. I'm going to continue writing. I'm going to finalize the book. I'm going to do the podcast. I'm going to do the conference, and I'm going to work with this. As of right now, we're calling it the Brain Trust, and we'll see if that changes.
And this Brain Trust, is this accounting firms or is this is this vendors or providers that work with accounting firms?
So most of it is fintech companies. Most of it is but there's a VC backed firm that's investing in small firms. And I love what they're doing because I met the 3 firms they've invested in, and they're young owners that really want to aggressively grow. They need this, backing to help them. One of their firms is going to be speaking at the conference, and I think he went from, he's already gone from, I'm going to butcher the numbers, but $2.5 million to $6 million in revenue because now he has this back and he has a team behind him. So I like that. But for the most part, it's fintech. There is a staffing company that I really like what they're doing. There's 100 million staffing companies out there, it feels like. But this one's doing offshoring and onshoring. They have a different philosophy of how they're looking at things. And so I'm not going to say names because I don't want to do advertising on here. But we agreed this morning, so they're officially on now too.
Oh, cool.
So it's just cool, and they meet the be nice and have fun to the extreme
mantra.
Yeah. So that's what we're doing. And like I said, I'm not going to pick the perfect companies, but I'm going to pick the perfect people at this point.
Yeah. No, I think there's value to that. Yeah. Oh, that's super cool. Well, Brady, you got a fascinating story, and this one's been fun because we've kind of gone deeper on aspects of the story and hit. Well, I'm sure. I mean, you're telling a 20+ year accounting career in an hour.
20.
So,
we're looking at 30. We're at, what are we at now? 37 years or so.
There you go. No, right. So
We didn't. Sorry, I'm cutting you off. We didn't
No,
even
no.
get into my whole stroke story. But
No.
that's that. We probably run out of time for that now. But that's really changed who I am and how I look at things. Is not to tease it now because we're wrapping up. But in 2014, I had a stroke, and that just changed the way I looked at everything. And so, as I said earlier, I wouldn't change anything. I wouldn't even change that because that's made me who I am today. And I love the fact, like, I don't want to be anywhere else than sitting here talking to you right now. And something like that wouldn't have happened if I didn't have my stroke.
Yeah. Was having a stroke, was that a big, did that have a lot to do with the decision, or did the timing of that have a lot to do with the decision to step back from the managing partner role? Was all tied together? Yeah.
Yeah. Because after I don't know if you ever heard the story. Again, sorry if we don't want to go into this now.
No.
So physically I recovered very fast. Mentally I struggled for about 4+ years. Because, my mind was telling me, you're going to have another stroke, you're going to die, all these negative things my mind would tell me. It ended up PTSD and depression and panic attacks and all this. But when I finally made the decision, and I'm lucky it wasn't chemical, it was just me allowing myself to tell myself lies. When I finally made the decision, I'm not listening to this anymore, that's when everything changed. That's when, and that was when I decided, you know what, I have to lean into what I'm good at and what I love doing, and managing the firm is not it. And it also opened my eyes to, we as accountants listen to a lot of, and it sounds blunt, but lies that we tell ourselves. I have to work 80 hours. I have to help every client. I have to bill by the hour. I have to do all this. I'm going to ignore burnout, even though I'm in it. I'm never going to admit I'm in it. All these things, because that's what I was doing, with, letting my mind tell me stuff. That's when everything changed. That's why the conference was born. That conference is about, mental health awareness and burnout and practice management. It's not technical. And that's where this whole passion came from, this profession, and trying to figure out ways where we can make sure that nobody goes through those struggles that I went through, because we do self-induce burnout. It's self-induced. It definitely is. And so those types of things. So, sorry, went on a tangent here at the end, but that was a major, major positive, negative for a while, but I look at it positive now. Positive change in my life came out of that.
No, I can't imagine. No, but it's cool to, I think you kind of alluded to it, but I do think it's a superpower to be able to take the things that happen to us or that we experience and to take the positive from them instead of the negative. Because it's the same thing happens to you either way. It's just, it's the like the stoic, the choice to react or how you react. Yeah. Oh, that's super cool. Well, man, I've got a million things I'd love to ask you. I really do. I've been taking notes and kind of writing out questions. Well, I'll have to ping you again. But we're at the hour mark, and so in support of transitioning, I want to run you through what we call our final 5. It's just the same 5 questions we ask everybody that comes on.
You got it.
The first question is, do you have a favorite business book?
I do. So up until probably 2020, I never read any business books, and I still don't really read, like, maybe consider business books. I tried From Good to Great, Jim Collins, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
And I never got through it. And I know it's a great book. I didn't get through it. So when I look at business books, the ones, and sorry, I'm going to name more than one.
No, it's okay.
Simon Sinek, The Infinite Game.
Okay.
I love that book. John Garrett, I don't know if you're familiar with John. John's a CPA, but he wrote a book called What's Your And? And your and is, the way to define this. I'm a CPA. That doesn't define me. My and defines me. I like hiking. I like craft beer. I like hanging out with family. I like travel. I'm a CPA and I travel. I'm a CPA and this. So that after the and is what defines you. And that philosophy, I just live by. I love that philosophy. and then there's one last book that I want to tell you about that I just read this past year, and it's Arthur C. Brooks, and it's called From Strength to Strength. And it talks about stages of your career and the best use of your talents, and how some people just hang on to that technical skill too long, and their technical skill leaves pretty early, a lot earlier than we think. But we gain so much knowledge that mentor and sharing and leadership is something that we need to lean into. And I feel like it's a path that I've been doing since 2017. And so I really love those 3 books, and those 3 kind of probably summarize my philosophy of what I look at things now.
All right. Well, I wrote them down. They're going on the list, so I appreciate the recommendations. What is one system or tool? And I'm sure you've been through many, but what is one system or tool that today you couldn't imagine running your firm? Running your firm without.
So as we found out earlier, running the firm is not my skill.
Sure.
Building the firm is. I'll answer 2 things. The one thing for Tri-Merit, I think, is Salesforce.
Okay.
That tool is, we build so many things around that. We've been using it for well longer than we probably should have got into it. We were a small firm when we started using it. I'm really happy we did, because it's been such a great tool for us. For me personally, and again, when this runs, I might be retired from Tri-Merit already.
You will be.
Yep. So for me personally, I can't do what I do right now without Claude. Claude has just been and I'm using Fable 5 now. I get it with my subscription right now at a reduced cost. I'll have to see what happens after they just extended the deal for another 4 days, and we'll see what happens. But Fable 5's been like amazing, and by the time this runs, there'll be something else.
Yeah, there'll be something else. Right. All right.
Yep.
Oh, right on. Well, and I mean, what is there? Just bonus question. What's a use case, or I'm sure you probably have a bunch, but where have you found the greatest impact or the greatest leverage using Claude?
So a big part of what I'm doing now is, one, it just helped me design the brain trust. It's been in my head forever. And we just went back and forth on what this is going to look like, what makes sense, and it'll keep evolving. But it's like another person bouncing ideas off of. And I don't always agree, and I'll tell it I don't, and has to change that way, but it just is nice, and it learns.
Right.
Forever I was ChatGPT. I still use ChatGPT too, and there's certain case uses for each. But and then in addition, I do so much speaking that it starts to know all of my, the things I like to talk about. Or like recently I said, hey, I want to start integrating a lot of the stuff from strength to strength in certain presentations. And then, so we go back and forth on that. We just start gathering data.
Cool.
So it helps a lot. I still spend a lot of time. It's not like it writes.
No, of course.
It does,
Sure.
but it's still all my ideas, and we change it, and I give it more ideas. But it really, I think, has increased the impact of my presentations, because I can spend time more on that concept than the writing it and everything like that.
Right, the minutia. Yeah.
Yep.
That makes sense. Cool. I'm always just blown away. You think you're getting the most of the tool, and then you see what other people are doing. You're like, oh my God, I didn't even think of that. So I love asking. All right, well, I think this one should be easy, but what events or conferences are you planning on attending in the coming year?
All of them. That's what I do these days.
Yeah.
Honestly, if I look at what I've done so far, Firm Growth Forum, AGN was a conference. I did Scaling New Heights. I know I'm forgetting something else in there already. I'll be doing Bridging the Gap, which is my conference the end of July. I'll be at ZeroCon. Ensuring Success is something that I do every December. I'll probably be at a CPA America event. I'm speaking. I did Engage. I spoke at Engage as well. I speak at pretty much all of these. Yeah. And I'll be speaking at Intuit Connect this year as well. And there'll be others, but but those are the ones off the top of my head I know I'll be at.
Oh, right on. Well, we'll have to catch you at one of them. Okay, so question number 4, what hobbies outside of, you mentioned a couple a few seconds ago, but outside of work, what do you enjoy doing?
So family, and that's a no-brainer, and I'm sure everybody would say that, but family's number one. Family is super important. So we travel together a lot as a family. We have 2 kids. Both are married. Our oldest and is getting married in October, but we still look at his. Thank you. His fiance is our daughter-in-law already because we've known her for quite a while. And then our other son, we have 2 boys. Our other son and his wife been married 5 years now. Is it 5 now or 4 now? Well, it's been a while, and we have a 6-month-old granddaughter.
That's awesome. Congrats on that too.
Thank you. Oh, it is unbelievul.
Yeah, I see your best grandpa son in the background. So I love it.
That had to be there.
I love it.
So we all were up in northern Wisconsin together this weekend. My wife and I spend a couple months outside of Chicago for the winter. The kids always come out and visit when we're out there. We love hiking. Hiking, we try to do that as every one of our trips has some hiking involved. Can I give you a weird one?
Yeah. No, please do.
This is probably more of an obsession than anything. But we bought this new house after living in Arlington Heights in the northwest suburbs my whole life. We moved to Lake Zurich, which is 20 minutes away, but we got a nice piece of land. And there was this weed tree plant, a lot of it on this land, called buckthorn. And I'm obsessed with eradicating buckthorn from my yard. So every free moment. Oh, believe me, because it poisons the ground. It kills other. We had years ago before we got here, 3 big, old, beautiful oak trees that when we bought the place had fallen down, and I'll guarantee it was from the buckthorn poisoning the ground. So every free moment, I'm out pulling buckthorn trees, digging up the roots. It is an obsession. I'll be happy when it's done, but this is I'm probably 2 years into maybe 5-year project if I'm lucky.
The war rages on. Yeah,
exactly. So I couldn't say it without adding that to it because it's where I spend a lot of my time right now.
No, that's good. That's good. I love that. Yeah, that's funny. How you said how many acres? How many acres are you trying to eradicate?
It's an acre and a half. Okay. But it was, honestly, because they're anywhere from, like a toothpick size to the size of a nice sized tree. Yeah. And, if you count the toothpick size, I've already, pulled out 500 of those, which those I think should, die on their own when I pull the big ones out because the root systems go everywhere.
Gotcha.
And if you cut them, they send out this message, send up sprouts. Oh, sorry. Too much buckthorn talk. My wife will yell at me for talking about buckthorn. But yeah, the yard looks so much more open than it did before, and it looks beautiful, but there's still a long way to go.
Oh, good. I can hear the passion, so I love it.
Yep.
All right. Well, our last question, where can folks go to connect with you or find out more about you?
Yeah, so LinkedIn is where I spend a lot of time. I'm trying to be, when I meet people, they say, "Oh yeah, we know you. We see you all over LinkedIn." And I don't post a lot. I get tagged a lot. That sounds like I'm bragging, isn't it? I don't mean it like that.
No.
But I'm trying to be more intentional about posting myself. So I'm at least doing a few a week. So you'll see me on LinkedIn a lot. In fact, I did 1 post today, maybe 2 already, which I don't want to do 2 a day normally. But then, my new website is just my name, randycrabtree.com. So you can get information from there, and my email is randy@randycrabtree.com. So those are the best places to look.
Oh, perfect. And we'll link all those below. Well, Randy, I really appreciate you taking the time and kind of walking us through your story. It's been a pleasure. And it's a fascinating story. I've got a lot.
I've been through a lot.
So I appreciate it. I really
been through a lot. And I appreciate this, Nick. You, this was out of the blue, and I'm glad we responded. I'm glad we got this set up. You honestly do a really good job. I appreciate the way that you manage the flow of this. So thank you for having me
I
on.
appreciate that. Well, thank you. All right. That is our interview with Randy Crabtree. Randy, thanks again for taking the time to come on the show. Had a great time chatting with you and hearing your story. Any closing thoughts, Matt?
I think that was one of the better episodes, and kind of what I've said a few times that my favorite part of these is, the intro where it's kind of, you can go anywhere and it's wide ranging and you can kind of go down these little rabbit holes with people. And I think Randy had a great story to tell.
Yeah.
He invited us. Who knows if it'll happen. Because we were just in Charlotte not too long ago, but he invited us to his conference, was the Bridging the Gap conference, which we'll link down below. And, if we don't go this year, I don't know if the next one will be in Charlotte, but something to look out for in the future.
Yeah, 100%. As soon as he said that, I'm like looking at the calendar, trying to see, okay, can we make it happen? The one conference we've been to so far this year, Jason Statz's Charlotte event, was incredible and had us all hyped to go to more conferences. So now it's actually executing on that. But had a great time chatting with Randy. Fascinating story, going from starting his own practice, scaling it up to a handful of team members, selling, a little bit of a hiatus in real estate development, and then back in action, starting his own firm, and now scaling that one up to he said around 70 team members. I mean, it's just a wild story.
Yeah,
so
he's
hopefully you guys,
serial entrepreneur, having a sole focus. In addition to the business stuff, is having fun, and I hope everybody enjoyed listening.
Yeah. Well, if you did enjoy the show, please take a moment, drop us a comment, leave us a like, and share this with somebody else that who might get some value from it. And aside from that, we will see you guys on the next one.